20 Thanksgiving vibes fragrances under $50. That is something to be thankful for. Hello, my gorgeous ones. Welcome to Elysia Budget Beauty. My name is Elysia. Here on my channel, I love fragrance. I love niche, indie, artisanal, high-end, affordable, Middle Eastern. I just want to get it as affordably as possible. And I also do some makeup shorts and a little bit of fashion. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe, stick around, be a friend. Okay, you guys, so I decided to break my Thanksgiving videos into two different videos because I often go a little bit overboard. You know, Thanksgiving is about being thankful and the abundance of plenty, right? And sometimes I do that a little too much in my videos where I'm over here like sharing 40 fragrances at once. So we are going to have the affordable video right now, which all of these are about $20 to $50. A lot of Middle Eastern in here, but not all. Some are also out of that category. And then I will have a second video that will be the higher end, more niche, indie, a little bit of designer in that video. So for now though, we are thankful for these very affordable Thanksgiving fragrances. And before I get into them, I just want to thank you guys so much for being an awesome support to me. I've been a little bit behind on comments lately because it's just, I am such a busy lady. And but I do eventually get to the comments, and I'm always so grateful and thankful that you guys take the time. Like some of you write out the longest, most thoughtful, insightful, encouraging comments. And whenever I read those and I tell you guys that it made my day, it literally makes my day. There are some days where I may be really frustrated with the content creating. I may have just lost 10 subscribers and I'm like, what did I do wrong? And then I come on here and I read those comments, and you guys truly keep me going and keep this channel going. And I just thank you guys so much. I'm so thankful for my audience. So I just wanted to say that. And now we can get into the fragrances. All right, first up, we have a fragrance by The Good Scent. This is Espresso Martini. And this I found at TJ Maxx. It was in a video not too terribly long ago, a couple of months back, but I recently was in TJ Maxx. I did see this in there again. So if you guys are interested, it is still floating around that TJ Maxx fragrance shelving. We have candied ginger, sparkling berries, espresso cream, vanilla bean, jasmine bloom, cashmere woods, and chocolate liqueur. Out of all of the good scents I've ever tried, whether I got a chance to try them in the store, whether I purchased them, this is the best one, I think. It is still very perfumey at the same time of having some delicious gourmand elements to it. I think that sparkling berries and that jasmine makes it smell a bit like a perfume, but that little kind of candied ginger at the top, a little bit of that chocolate liqueur, the espresso, it's all very kind of effervescent and fun and lively. It kind of smells like a party, like a good time. So I was thinking this would be a fun one for, say, like a Friendsgiving. I could see wearing this because it's a little bit flirty, it's a little bit fun, it's maybe slightly younger, but I don't think it's too juvenile either. I just think it's a really fun one that kind of creates an atmosphere around it. And I think this one performs better than a lot of the Good Scent. A lot of them, I get it, they don't perform that long, or they kind of have maybe like a little bit of a cheaper smell to them that are at TJ Maxx, but this one I think smells excellent. I think it's a great one. So I think it would be appropriate. Okay, next up by Riffs, we have Fleury Emerald. I love this bottle. I think it's so gorgeous. The notes on here, blood orange, lavender, lemon peel, cinnamon, licorice, white florals, anise, caramel, vanilla bean, and musk. Now I know some people were trying to say that this was a Lyra, Jomashop Lyra dupe, or I don't think that they smell alike, like at all. At all. It really, any of those Jomashop that people were saying possibly, I just think this is its own fragrance. There's so much beautiful warm spiciness to this that doesn't go into like an unwearable spice. It doesn't go too much into like a masculine spice. It's like a festive spice. And I remember when I first got it and sprayed it, the first thing that came to mind, so this could be in like a Christmas category, it may show back up, I thought sugar plum fairies. The second I sprayed this, not that it smells like plums, but when I think of sugar plum fairies, I just think of these little floating beautiful wings and their little wands and just sprinkling the little fairy dust all over the kids in the bed, but like having this sort of like ginger cookie spice to them. And that is what this smells like to me. It also reminds me so much of getting out our Christmas tubs, which we just did. You see my tree, I'm decorated. But as a kid, whenever I was growing up, there were certain decorations back in the day in like the late 80s, early 90s that had this sort of piney cinnamon scent to it. I think of the pine cones when I walk into the grocery stores at this time of year and they're scented, and it just makes you think of like, it's the holidays. So this one, I'm like, Thanksgiving, but if you're looking for a fragrance or to wear a fragrance that is that perfect in between, it's like you want to kind of start ushering in the holidays and Christmas on your Thanksgiving, I think this would be the perfect one. Okay, next up we have Fire Your Desire. Amir Fire Your Desire, and Amir is one of Paris Corner's kind of little sister subset lines. And this has gotten even so much better over time. I've been neglecting this because this is an angel share inspired by very, very close fragrance. And I have so many of those, so many. And then like all the flankers now, and like Camera is not a dupe, but it's still in the same family. And just like all of those, I have original angel share, a ton in that category, to be honest. And I kind of like, I loved this in the beginning when I got it. I also love layering this with Rafat by Paris Corner. You guys, it is so good together. I highly recommend. It's one of the best combos you can possibly imagine. It smells amazing. But I let this sit for like, I probably had this for 2 years, you guys, and I've been kind of like testing out the others, and I'm constantly testing fragrances. So I came back to this one today, pulling them out for this video, and I was like, whoa. Number one, the juice is darker and deeper than it was. And this is so refined. It is so gorgeous. I don't think it's identical to Angel Share. The more I've gotten to know Angel Share, and I do love it, but there's a little bit of a sharpness in there and slightly something kind of artificial smelling about it. I don't know if it's the bitter almond because that is missing in this. This has the cognac, the cinnamon, the tonka, the sandalwood. This is just smooth. And I don't think it's quite as sweet as Angel Share. It's still kind of sweet, but it's just perfectly blended and balanced. And it smells like you have, it almost, instead of smelling like the apple pie thing that Angel Share goes into, this almost kind of smells like it would be some sort of scented cigar sitting around, like a holiday scented cigar. And then you've got your little glass of your cognac. It is so good. And I'm telling you, it has richened and deepened. Those that don't believe in maturation, maceration, any of the Asians, well, it happens because you can see the juices get deeper and darker, and they do sometimes change over time. And this one has only aged like a fine wine. Okay, the next one is Eze Perfumes. This is Magic. I think the little bronze ball is so pretty. Kind of reminds me of the snitch in Harry Potter. So this one is definitely more fragrant smelling as opposed to anything gourmand, anything too sweet. Like this smells like a proper fragrance. And this one is marketed towards men. It does lean somewhat masculine, it does, but I just think it's one that I personally really enjoy wearing. It's one of those kind of fall in a bottle scents. This has some cinnamon and pink pepper. It has some oud and leather and tobacco. It has a little bit of aromatics of some lavender, some chestnut, some cedar wood. So this is another one. It smells like fall in a bottle, but it also kind of smells like winter in a bottle. Like, it smells kind of like a log cabin sitting beautifully in a snowbank with the smoke billowing out the top. That's the image I get whenever I smell this. I'm thinking of, oh, a Thanksgiving in somewhere cold where everyone meets at this one beautiful, I'm just going with a cabin, you guys, like a beautiful cabin, and they have their lovely spread and the snow is starting to fall out the window. And again, it's one that's kind of ushering in, like, oh, now winter is coming. Now we're going to prepare for the holidays. That's what this gives me as well. The oud in here too is not a scary oud. It is not too animalic. It doesn't make it too dank and deep and dark. It's just a beautiful, kind of spicy, warm, fall, bold fragrance. And if you don't like more masculine leaning fragrances, it probably would be too masculine. But guys out there, like, this is a fantastic, affordable buy. And then if you're a woman that kind of likes to tread that line, I think you'd really enjoy this one. Okay, now this one, Autumn Rendezvous, I'm not going to talk about too long because I just visited this in a Dossier video. And by the way, there's a lot of fragrances I could include in this. I mean, it's hard. I have to pick and choose. I'm leaving out a lot that maybe I just talked about, like the Demeter fragrance library. That whole thing was all for holiday, Thanksgiving style fragrances. So I didn't want to be too repetitive. So I'm just saying that in case you're like, I know what she owns, and like, why isn't she talking about this or that? Well, I just have to kind of pick and choose. But I did want to include this one because it's the ultimate fall in the bottle, truly. And it has this crisp, cold air accord in here that smells like fresh pine and leaves that just turned that kind of crispy reddish brown that if you were walking with your boots, they would crunch beneath your feet. It smells like all of that kind of ground up and put into a really, really beautiful fragrance. It's earthy and it's warm, but it also has a crisp coolness at the same time. It's a fantastic fragrance. If you're just like, I want to smell like quintessential, the epitome of fall on my Thanksgiving, you cannot get more that than Autumn Rendezvous. Okay, next up we have the Good Chemistry's Not That Vanilla. What's so interesting about this one is there isn't a vanilla note in here. It's a bergamot, smoke, cocoa, and amber, I believe. But I get why they are even mentioning vanilla, because it kind of has this vanilla-like quality to it without smelling like a traditional vanilla. And that's what comes into play when it's like, not that vanilla. Like, this is something different. And we don't even have vanilla in it, but we're going to make you think of vanilla, but it's not that vanilla. That's kind of the little mind games that they're playing here. And I didn't think about it until just a few minutes ago that this kind of reminds me of Prada's Infusion de Vanille, which is a smoky kind of incensey vanilla. These are very, very similar, although this has a little bit more of like a warmth, like a crystally warmth of the amber in it. I think of the Infusion de Vanille by Prada as being a little bit more of like a cold, smoky, kind of eerie vanilla, while this one has a lot of warmth to it. So it's very kind of cozy and inviting. It's one that I think would be like a good hugging perfume. It's not too in your face. It's not too spicy, but it just kind of has this like hominess to it. And I think the way that the cocoa and the smoke play in here with that warmth of that amber kind of makes it feel like a little cuddly hug of a perfume. Okay, next up, like I was saying, many iterations out there of at least inspired by, not necessarily duping, but inspired by Angel Share. We have Sweet Heaven Extreme by Gulf Orchid. Now, it cracks me up that sometimes in the dupe world, you get dupes of dupes. So this one's actually more commonly compared to Kamara's Kawa by Lattafa. And I don't have that one. I have Kamara. But this, I don't need the Lattafa because this one is just lovely. I really, really love the coffee in here. I also love the cherry liqueur and the little bit of geranium, and the geranium is not overdone. Sometimes geranium, I can either love geranium in a fragrance if it's done just right, or sometimes it's just like, oh, it's too much, because it can be a really bitter, spicy floral. And then sometimes it can be like just that little kick that a fragrance needs. And I think that it's perfectly balanced with a little bit of sweetness in here. It's like sweet, woody, a little bit boozy, and it's comfy, cozy. You still kind of have that underlying, smells a bit like Angel Share, but not exactly. I do really like this one. I kind of picture, instead of eating like an apple pie, like a cherry pie, and then you have your cup of coffee and you just kind of splash a little like liquor into it and something spicy in the air. That's what you're gonna get with Sweet Heaven Extreme. All right, next up, we have what I think is just a gem. And this is one I've wanted for so long, and I'm so glad I finally have it. It is Sarah Jessica Parker's Stash. Oh my goodness. The people that have raved about this has like a major cult following to this fragrance. It's a lot of people's like hidden gems. So I guess it's not that hidden if a lot of people do love it, but they did not tell lies. Like, this is so good. Now, it is slightly masculine. It is kind of earthy, aromatic, woody, but it is so beautifully blended. To my nose, this smells like such an expensive fragrance. If I didn't know it was a celebrity fragrance, Sarah Jessica Parker, if you put it in, I don't know, a Roja bottle, a Jomashop bottle, like anything that gets up there in the 300 plus range, I wouldn't bat an eye. I'd be like, oh yeah, like I could see that. It smells so expensive. Now, you have a little bit of spiciness at the top with some black pepper, which is my favorite type of pepper to have in a fragrance. But then you also have some grapefruit and sage. So I think that's so interesting because I actually imagine cutting open a grapefruit and instead of putting a little salt, sprinkling a little bit of fresh cracked pepper on it with some sort of like little sage leaf. I could, in my mind, think that would be kind of delicious. So to me, it kind of makes sense as a little concoction of top notes. In the mid, you have some pistachio that doesn't fully stand out. It's more like a really dry, in the background, just hint of something slightly earthy, woody in the back. What held me off from purchasing this for as long as it did was that the patchouli that's in the base. I have a lot of fragrances with patchouli. I just struggle with it if it's not done well. And I had heard reviews saying like, oh, it's this gorgeous woody patchouli fragrance. So I was like, if they're like calling it out and describing it as a patchouli fragrance, I need to stay away probably. But then I had some friends say it doesn't, like, no, it's not like that. And they were right. I really don't notice it. It more just makes it really deep and mysterious. And this smells like refinement, like you're sitting around the table at Thanksgiving and everyone is philosophizing about life and philosophizing. They're smart. And they're talking about philosophy and life and pontifications on what it means to be grateful and thankful. Like that's what I just picture. And even though it's not a boozy fragrance, I picture them swirling around like their best wine or spirits in their glasses, and it's very highbrow. That's what this fragrance gives me. I think it's phenomenal. I love Stash. Okay, next up we have Lolita Land by Lolita Olympica. I think this bottle is so cute. I love the little, you know what? I never really thought about that. It's kind of weird that the deer has wings. The deer has wings. Okay. And just now, I've taken pictures of this, never thought twice until this very moment. All right. So anyway, I've been excited for fall to roll around to wear this fragrance because I actually purchased it, I think the very tail end of winter, early spring. And it's because I completely changed my mind on this fragrance, or maybe my taste, my nose taste changed a bit. But I had a sample of this years ago and I didn't like it. I wrote it off. I was like, there's something weird about it. There's something too thick and like, I don't know. I just don't like it. And then I revisited it not quite a year ago. And I thought, what in the world was I thinking? This is beautiful. This is so rich and layered and deep. And I had to get a full size. Now, the notes at the top, it has a lot of citrus, a lot of orange mandarin. There's Bellini at the top, like kind of this effervescent orange citrus. And you would think, and then it goes into peach and into florals. So you would think this would be, just by hearing that, like a spring summer fragrance. But I think what was challenging to my nose at first is then it goes into things like licorice and benzoin, so like balsamic notes, and it's like I picture a drink or some sort of liquid where the top is light and fizzy, and then as it descends into the bottom, it becomes more of a solid. So it opens kind of bright and fun, but then it starts to just get more and more nuanced and layered as it goes on. The plum also kind of makes it deeper, richer, darker as it passes by that peach. And I actually love this. It becomes this robust kind of like this thick, yummy, kind of woody, vanilla, balsamic, peachy plum as it dries down on the skin. And to me, it gives more fall. And I could definitely see wearing this for Thanksgiving, hands down. All right, next up we have Aroma Concepts Ginger Babe. Now, this is one, I don't say this very often because I try to be respectful of the originals and say, hey, like if you want to spend your money on the original, like if you love the bottle, if you love the brand, I'm not going to judge someone even if I think a dupe's just as good. I get it. This is one where I think someone's actually quite silly if they purchase the original, which is Jo Malone's Ginger Biscuit. The reason being, they have the exact same notes in the exact same tiers, like top notes, middle notes, bottom notes are identical. A lot of times Inspired Bys will, fudge it a little bit, mix it up some, eliminate one, add, no, these are identical. And this just outperforms. Ginger Biscuit is beautiful. I loved it the first time I went in and sprayed it, and I thought about purchasing it, except for when I got home from Sephora, it was already gone, like non-detectable on my skin. So when I got this in and it lasted, it's still not the most long lasting, this one even, but it lasts hours longer than the original at a fraction of the price. So the only reason why I would think someone wouldn't like this has nothing to do with comparing it to Ginger Biscuit. If you don't like ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, if like anything kind of hazelnutty, nutty to you is weird or off-putting, of course you're not gonna like this fragrance. But if you love kind of that ginger spice, holiday, got the pumpkin pie, minus the pumpkin, but like everything in the pie filling minus the pumpkin, sort of like baking in the oven, sort of a scent, or even of course ginger cookies, then you're gonna love this. And I recommend this a million times over the original. Okay, this next one I think is very underrated. No one ever talks about it. It is Zimaya's Wamid. I think the bottle is so pretty. This cap is so heavy and gorgeous. very affordable fragrance. Like I'm talking, I think I've seen this for like 18 bucks. So I'm not sure how much it is as I'm speaking, but I've seen it very, very, very cheap. Very heavy bottle, nice. Now this is very similar to Camera, Lattafa Camera, as far as the notes are concerned, like the dates, the praline, the nutmeg, a lot of the same, the tuberose, which is kind of an interesting note thrown in there with those notes. But this one smells a bit more perfumey to me, a bit more feminine and well-rounded and interesting even than Camera is. I don't think it's as sweet as Camera in the kind of gourmandy element. The sweetness in this one I think is coming more from a few of the additions that this one has, like some white flowers, some orange blossom. This is missing the myrrh, so it kind of takes out that extra sort of earthy, incensey, balsamic quality. And it's just a kind of perfect balance of those gourmand dates, nutmeggy, praline, little bit of nuttiness, but mixed in with some beautiful kind of sweetened white florals. And it smells like an elegant Thanksgiving fragrance. Like say you attend a little bit more of a posh Thanksgiving and everyone's dressed up a little bit nicer and has like nice linens out and like the porcelain plates, and you wouldn't want to spend a lot of money on your fragrance, but you want to smell like you belong. That's this at a fraction of the price. Now, another fragrance I think fits into that same category, a refined, elegant perfume that smells kind of festive, like Thanksgiving, like holiday, but smells perfumey at the same time, would be Rasasi's Cosma Ebhar. Now, a lot of people compare this one to Casablanca, Swiss Arabian Casablanca. They are similar, but they're definitely not the same. I actually prefer this one, Ebhar, over the Casablanca. I think a major reason for that is it has orris in it. Game over. If something has the addition of orris in it, it's probably going to win over another fragrance for me, because I'm a hoe dog for orris. That should be my tagline. I'm a hoe dog for orris. I am. I just love it so much. So you have some green apple at the top here. You have a little bit of floral, like I believe rose and lotus. And then you have that kind of smooth, soft, powdery orris. And then the praline comes into play that makes it a little bit nutty. It's kind of, honestly, a conversation starter and a unique kind of strange fragrance that is very pretty, but it's unique to the nose. It's very interesting and different. And I think it's one that if you were wearing to your nice Thanksgiving meal, people would be like, wait, what am I smelling? It smells really good, but what is that? And then you'd be like, I think it's me. And then they would smell you and go, it is you, but like, what is that? Like my nose can't quite understand. And then you can explain all the notes and it would be really fun. So that is Ebhar, Cosma Ebhar by Rasasi. Okay, next up we have Al Absar's Sahur Intense. So I did a review of this way back when this came out, comparing it to the Mancera Amore Cafe. And I remember saying that they weren't identical, like in the same family, close enough where if you didn't want to spend the money on the Amore Cafe, buy this one instead, much cheaper, performs great. They're both really strong fragrances as far as they project and they last well. It was more so just, you know, if you want to spend less and have like a similar fragrance, go with this one. I still stand by that, but I do think this one has changed a little bit over time. I get less booziness out of this now and more sugary coffee than anything. Whereas before it kind of smelled like, oh, you've got this like really strong amaretto and it's like a 1-to-1 with the coffee. I think this smells more now like the coffee with just like a dollop, a little dip, a little splash, a little sneak a sippy sip of the amaretto with like sugar cubes and vanilla in it. It's very, very sweet. I still like it. I just think it's kind of lost some of that punch of that. I liked the liqueur at the top. Now, not everyone does. Like some people think Amore Cafe was like way too strong in the booze. They didn't like it. Well, I think you would actually like this one better then, because I don't think it's quite as boozy. And this is kind of like your after dessert when you just are sipping on that little like coffee, and like grandpa's like, you want a sip of some amaretto? And he's just like, eat just like a little bit. And you're like, oh, grandpa, you also made it really sweet. That is so intense. My descriptions, I swear. Okay, next up we have Twist Perfumes, Heritage number 137. Now, this landed in my collection completely by chance, by accident. So my husband thought that he was buying an Herba Pura dupe from this brand off Amazon. Why the man does not consult his wife, who has over 400 fragrances, I don't know. But he bought the wrong thing. He bought an Altair dupe, a Perfumes de Marly Altair dupe. So their notes are listed on here. And also, it was just a big mix up because the box had a different number than the number on the bottle. And yeah, I don't know fully that I recommend buying from Amazon from the brand because it was quite a mix up and I don't think it ever got resolved. But hey, I like this fragrance. He's not so much of this profile, so I added it to mine. Okay, notes: cinnamon, cardamom, orange blossom, bergamot, bourbon, vanilla, elemi, praline, musk, ambroxan, gaiac wood, tonka, candied almond. So I thought about buying Altair. I have a sample of it. Also, I cannot think, Bruns, is that right? The other dupe of it, Bruns, somebody will tell me. I cannot think right now of what the other dupe is. I can visualize the sort of like caramel tan looking bottle. Anyhow, thought about buying it, and then when this landed, I was like, oh, this will do just fine. It's really pretty. I think this leans a little bit masculine, but masculine in kind of a gourmand way that my husband's kind of like, oh, I don't know, like it smells too kind of foodie for him. It's very cozy. That cardamom sticks out. The nuttiness sticks out as well. There's kind of a fluffiness. I think the tonka is kind of light and airy. So I could see if men like more of a traditional smelling fragrance, or if he was going for Herba Pura, something like fruity, this would have just rattled his brain a bit. But I think it's really great. I think it's a really nice, cozy, another one of those kind of draw you in and hug you type of Thanksgiving fragrances. Okay, next up we have Paris Corner's Ministry of Gourmands Tiramisu Speculoos. Now, I took the horrendous atrocity off of a cap that came on this, that like kitschy, weird plastic maraschino cherry business. I took that off long ago. My daughter used it to play with her dolls and I don't know where it is. So it looks so much more chic like this. I still really like this fragrance and I have been neglecting it, partially because this isn't like a spring summer fragrance. I love, this is one of my favorite coffee fragrances. I think it's excellent, so good. That coffee, vanilla, a little bit of cinnamon and cacao and musk, and I just think it's so good. It does smell like a tiramisu, but it also smells like a crumbly, like cinnamon cookie mixed in with the tiramisu. So it smells kind of smooth, but it also smells kind of like the scent texture would be kind of crumbly and crystally, like snickerdoodle-like. And oh, I just think it's excellent. Like this one projects. I think it's cozy and fun. And this is, to me, this is when you walk in Thanksgiving and they're like, dessert just got here. Oh my goodness, she smells so good. Like, who needs Thanksgiving meal? We're just gonna take a bite out of you. That is Tiramisu Speculoos. Okay, this next one is another one of those that I just think the Inspired By beats out the original. This is Hassa by Absar. So this is inspired by the Black Opium Red, Black Opium by YSL. And out of all the Black Opiums, that one was the one that I thought, I think maybe I could do that one because I really loved all the other notes in it, but still that patchouli was pesky to my nose. And you can pick out some patchouli in this one. And it's almost on the verge of, I don't know for me, but as it sits on the skin, it takes about 5 minutes for me. And it all just kind of comes together. And I think it's really beautiful. It's so layered and it has elements of gourmand. It has cherry, coffee, but it also has some green tea. A little bit of like an earthy element comes in. It also has the orange blossom, the jasmine. So that with those white florals, it make it kind of almost like a fluffy, sweet white floral in here. And I just think it's a really pretty, proper fall sort of winter date night type of fragrance. And I can imagine that if you're doing like Thanksgiving dinner instead of like a Thanksgiving lunch, you know, if you like to sit down to a nice, elegant, candlelit Thanksgiving dinner, I think this would be the perfect fragrance. Now, this is probably the most on the nose for Thanksgiving is Pumpkin Creme by Monde Gourmand. This is not that complicated. This could even be like one of those Demeter fragrance library sort of fragrances where it's like one note concept, like it smells like pumpkin pie filling. They achieved it. It's just what it smells like. The pumpkin, the nutmeg, it's warm. It truly smells like the filling of the pumpkin pie. No kind of crust element to this. Truly just pumpkin pie filling. If you want to be on the nose, show up smelling like some pumpkin pie, you're gonna go with Pumpkin Creme. All right, this next one is Two Shot Caramel by Dua brand. This is inspired by Mula Mula by Byron Perfumes. And this is kind of one of those, like, you wanna compete with the Thanksgiving meal scent. You wanna compete with cousin Steve, who likes to show up and drown himself in like really generic cologne and like, you're like, you're choking us out, Steve. And you're like, you want to smell me first, because this is strong. It is strong. I think it makes a statement. Called Two Shot Caramel is because there are 2 doses of caramel in this fragrance, but it's not an overly sweet fragrance necessarily. You do have some ginger and some peach and some raspberry, but then you have some pretty strong oud and also some patchouli. And again, the patchouli in this is done in a way where I don't necessarily smell patchouli, but I smell a strength and a boldness to this fragrance. And it really kind of grounds it, takes it from being what would seem like a very sweet, gourmand, fruity fragrance and makes it more of this kind of exotic, bold, somewhat even kind of woody in the base fragrance. And it's really one of those kind of head turners where like people are gonna smell you when you walk in. They're gonna make you smell great. They're just gonna know like, oh, that person has confidence. I think this one's very unisex as well. I think anyone can get away with it. So if you want to turn some heads on Thanksgiving and tell good old Steve he needs to up his game on his fragrances, you're going to go with Two Shot Caramel. All right, my next one is Christina Aguilera's Xtina After Dark. I still stand by this fragrance. It doesn't have the best reviews on Fragrantica. I, though, have a theory that people just love to hate on like our pop stars perfumes, like Britney, but Christina more so. I think people really like to hate on her fragrances for whatever reason. Now, the actual bottle, not necessarily my favorite. Like I like the idea that they went with something a little bit darker, kind of sexy looking, but I just think it could have been executed better. So I don't know if some people just judge the bottle. I don't know if they even smelled this fragrance, but I quite like this. So this is a tobacco fig fragrance and it's fairly linear, doesn't change a ton on the skin. I think it's feminine without being floral or without being too overly sweet. The tobacco is like one of those kind of sweetened tobaccos and the fig is more fruity than it is like a green fig or a woody fig, but it's just unique. Like I really truly don't have anything that smells quite like this. I'd say the closest is probably the Marc Jacobs Perfect Absolute, which is the fig fragrance, the newer fig fragrance. The fig in that's so kind of jammy and fruity is kind of what the fig smells like in this, but then you have that like soft sort of sweetened tobacco in the background of this. But I like it. It's simple, but it's unique. So I think it's another one of those kind of like, it doesn't announce itself, you know, really before you enter the room, but I think it's a nice hugging fragrance as well. All right, my last one is the Fragrance World Elysia Vanilla. And yes, I still have my stupid flower on. You guys, the video where I covered this line, like the amount of people that were like, you can take the plastic petals off. Like, thank you, I will do it. I just haven't done it yet. Some people are telling me I could just rip them off, but I tried real hard this morning and I could not rip mine off. So I'm gonna have to cut them, I believe. And I think they will very easily cut because it's just plastic ugliness. But this is obviously inspired by KLE's Vanilla 28 and it does a great job. It does a really, really great job duping that fragrance. Out of all of the Elysias, I said there were a few that I thought were better than the original. Like the apple one, I think is better than Eden Juicy Apple. This I think is pretty comparable. Maybe Vanilla 28 is a little bit more rich and deep, but I don't think that the price difference really warrants paying for the KLE. But this is just a warm vanilla, brown sugar, patchouli, again with the patchouli that I can do. Cozy fragrance. I think this is also a great layering one. So like almost anything that I showed you guys, the other 19, I think I could probably spray this with it and it would work. And that's really my favorite thing about Vanilla 28 is it's a great just little companion fragrance to others. So you can wear it by itself or you can layer it with any of the ones that I talked about. That is it, you guys. Those are my 20 under $50 fragrances for Thanksgiving. Let me know what you plan on wearing. I'm curious. And again, I will have the little bit higher end, a little bit more pricey Thanksgiving fragrances coming up soon. I thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so thankful for you. And as always, have shopping, budget shopping, and smelling fabulous. Bye.